Hello, everybody. My name is Lindsay Knowler. I'm working for Toon Boom as one of their senior solutions specialists. I love rigging. I've been rigging for almost 10 years. Um, I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you are as well. I'm really hoping to show some really cool things that Harmony can do with rigs. And I'm so happy that we got people's submissions. That's really exciting. I can't wait to show them to you. We've got a couple. We got quite a few actually. I chose a couple, and I hope that you guys learn a little bit more about what you're doing, and really appreciate what we're doing here. And so, thank you for sending them in. And let's get started. So the first one that we have came from Ray, and Ray sent in this little sprite. And so let's kind of give it a look. When I'm looking at rigs, one of the first things that I like to check is just to see how it moves. So I'll start to grab the hands and the feet, and I'll use our shortcuts B and Shift B to kind of jump up the hierarchy and see what it can do. So we've got an upper body peg there. I notice that when I go back down the hierarchy, I have this, my bounding box is pretty big, so that's something I'm going to want to take a look at. So when I turn the arm, I can see that the sleeve is also attached in the upper arm, and it's quite large. So that's something that I'm going to take a look at. Okay, so let's jump inside of the character and see what the rig looks like. All right, so very exciting. This is a very neat looking network. I'm not gonna lie, I am a sucker for clean node views. So it's very, very clear. We can see that there is a head group here, a body group here. This one, we've got the arms and the legs. Awesome. All right, so let's take a closer look. One of the things I also like to check is I'll do spot checks. So what I mean by that is I'll check a specific drawing, and I'll bring my, I'll hit center on selection, so that shortcut is O, and I'll just double check to make sure that we've got all the pieces working. So if I open up this, I can see that apply bedded pivots on drawing layers are turned on, but when I click here, animate using animation tools is off. So that's a fantastic thing to be on the lookout. Okay, I'll jump out, get a little bit of a closer look. All right, so Ray, you are using clones, so that's fantastic. I love clones. I love static transformations. We have our arm here and our second arm here. Let's take a look at that sleeve. Let's see what we can do there. So the first thing that I also notice is the naming. Now, when you're working on a rig and it's your rig, you're really familiar with it, so it's not really a big deal. You'll understand that your upper arm -PP is yours, but if you are sharing this rig with anybody else, you might want to be a little bit more specific there. So I actually try to avoid leaving a -PP. So I'll actually name this, instead of upper arm, I would name it upper arm master. Now, because we're working with clones, I'm not actually going to change this name, but I'll just kind of show you what it would look like. So I would probably leave it as arm master, and then that way you know that that is the top of the whole arm. So I'm just going to quickly undo that. Let's see. Same thing for your lower arm, -P. It's probably best to throw in a main peg. So maybe we can call that the lower arm main peg, or you can call it the elbow peg. Let's check out this sleeve. So here we've got some deformers. Let's turn those on. One of my favorite shortcuts, by the way, is show my deformers. It's not set up in the preferences, your key shortcuts. You have to do it yourself. But I use M, and I think that's a pretty standard shortcut for everybody, but that's one of my favorites that I've added to customize my software. And all right, so let's see, let's bend this elbow. All right, so the one thing that I notice when I do this, when I want to start testing, when I really get in there, I want to see how the Z depthing works. So I can pop this forward, and I can see that the upper arm is working fine. I have access to, let's see, you can see that a little bit better. It looks like everything's working really well with the seamless cutting structures here with the overlay line art, color art, auto patches. And you've even shortened the name, which is actually a trick that I like to do because it saves a lot of space in the timeline. Another thing that I like to do is actually, I'll just do this real quick. I actually layer my auto patches right below the line art and the color art. That way, if I have my underlay, I can still kind of see it there. And I know that my auto patch is a little bit below. So that's one of my favorite tricks to clean up a network really quickly. But there was definitely something here that I wanted to show off before I go too far off course. So, all right. Now this arm, I'm going to put it back into a closer position. You can see here that the sleeve is actually cutting into the upper arm. So I'm actually going to fix that. We're going to take a look at it and see. So here I've got a cutter for the sleeve, and they're using a composite. I'm just going to pull the composite so that it's connected to the cutter as well. I like to keep my cutters directly underneath the piece that it's cutting, and then I like to keep the mask section right on top of that so everything's kind of neat and I can see exactly what I'm looking at the same time. Now, I'm told that Ray is actually on the call. So Ray, if you have any questions for me, please feel free to shout them out, and I will try to get to them. All right, so I want to take off the upper arm. So here we've got the auto patch. So I'm going to unplug this one for now, and I'm just going to leave it cut into here. I'll leave it with the composite since it's doing two things. And to check on this, because this is going to do something, we're going to check to see what it does. So let's see, we have our render view here, and I'm going to bring in a color card. I'm going to bring in another color card. I'm going to bring in a white one so we can see our backgrounds. Okay, so it looks like we're getting some questions too. I will answer. I will try to remember to answer when I am done this section, but that is actually a great question from the chat. What happens actually when you change a drawing's name when you are working on a new version? Saved file, you usually get a warning. I also get a warning when I do that. So I have a little workaround for you. But give me 1 second. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at what is happening here. So I want to address this little guy right here, this little halo. That's what I call this. So the sleeve is being cut by the auto patch of the lower arm, so it is being seen. Now the sleeve, actually, if you follow the stream, it is behind the line art. So I'm going to double check to make sure all the artwork is on the right layers. When I'm rigging, I like to turn my light table and my current drawing on top on. It's my favorite way to work, actually. It lets me see the bigger picture. It lets me focus on the individual layers. Here, if I don't see the artwork, it means I know I'm not on the right layer. So I'll just double check. So overlay, line art, color art, and underlay. All right, so that's on the lower arm. No surprises there. That makes sense to me. Overlay, line art, color art. Perfect. And is there one more? Underlay. No. Okay. So let's see. That is the sleeve. Hang on. Wait, I just realized that. Let's see. Is that the sleeve? Or and looking at the underlay. Where is the sleeve? Okay, so here's something that we're going to take a look at too. Can I grab the sleeve? There's a deformer on here. I can see that that is working, but I can't access the artwork. So, Ray, if you're on the call, do you have an insight on how I could find the drawing for your sleeve? Okay, well, while we wait for that one, because that's an interesting little tidbit that I've just stumbled upon, the answer to that question for what actually happens when you change a drawing's name when you are working on a new version saved file? Actually, yes, that is a great question. Because the new files are still linked to the old original drawings, when you've got multiple versions, what you might want to actually do, which is a little bit of a safer move, is copy and paste a new drawing completely. So I like to create new columns, which will create a complete replica of the drawing that you are working on. A duplicate is what we also call it. And so it's going to create a brand new drawing. And from there, I will rename this drawing whatever I would like, and then I can delete this drawing of the original. Now, keeping that in mind, one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to name it the same. So I usually use a clever trick, and I'll just say, I might just leave it as sleeve underscore. And then that way the program doesn't get confused that, the program won't get confused about the names. So it keeps this, the two little files completely separate from the elements folder. So that's my workaround, and I don't tend to get any issues that way. So let me undo this. All right. So this seems to be strange happening. All right. All right. So we can grab it. It is there. All right. Well, we can grab it. It is there. I don't know why it's not showing up in the artwork. That's an interesting, that's actually something I've never seen before either in my 10 years. So that's fun. All right, so let's just keep going. All right, so we got the auto patch and it's cutting it. The sleeve is actually nested between the line art and the color art. So instead of cutting it by the auto patch, you can actually just grab the color art there, and it's going to get, did I just look backwards? Here we go. So what that'll actually do, but then we've got this little problem here. All right, so we got two things that we're going to do. All right. So welcome to rigging. You change one thing, we got to change another. It's just a big chain of reactions. All right, so what I want to do is, since I can see that this, what is showing actually is the color art of the underarm, I have two options. I can either cut that by the upper arm, which would be adding a cutter here, connecting that would be from the auto patch. There we go. So that would look good. If we take a look through the render button, we can see that it's taken away the halo here, but we still have something here. So we can kind of go back and take a look at what's going on at this one too now. So, and you can see it as well right here. So we'll go to the hand. All right, so let's take a look at this drawing. So in the overlay, line art, color art, underlay. All right, so everything's on the line art and color art. We have a prop hand here for the overlay, so that's great. We know that that's something that should remain blank so that it can interact with props. All right, we got this hand, and it is a layer selector, so it is only showing the line art and color art, and that is going through and also being cut by the auto patch. So the line that we are looking at, see what that does, if that makes a difference. So this line, okay, it's not being cut down there. All right, so what we can also do is grab this composite, paste it, and we can add it here. And then you can also cut your, let's grab an auto patch here. cut the arm by the auto patch. Does that take it away? Okay, helps it a little bit. Now we have an increased opacity here, so let's see what that one's doing. Nope, not that one. One of my favorite tricks for searching in a network when I'm looking for little clues as to how to find little segments is I like to just deactivate certain cutters and composites just to see what that's going to get me. All right, so the moment I get one that flashes, all right, so this one right here. So we're cutting the, oh, that's why. Okay, I see now. All right. What's happening here is because we're using a layer selector, what is happening is over here you've broken up your artwork into the overlay, line art, and color art, including your auto patch. I've brought over an auto patch, but because you're grouping your line art and your color art, you're not getting the same effect. The one thing that I like to say is once you start getting specific with your art layers, your art layer filters, you want to stay specific. So even though the layer selector is a really nice cheat, and you can get a couple of things done with one node, it's a little bit difficult to kind of keep the same functions of what you've got going on over here. So I'm actually going to replace your layer selector with the line art and color art. And I'm going to cut the line art like so. I'll move that out of the way. And then I'm going to add the color art to the back, and voila, there we go. So now, get out of this view. We should be able to set depth your hand, and it works. Now, you can also do, I'll reset this, come down here. Because we've got Z depthing right here, we can also add the auto patch to the lower arm, which we have going right here. So the auto patch should be cutting the lower arm. Let's just double check the artwork is in the right spot. I believe it was though, yeah. All right, so, oh wait, I know what it was. All right, so on your underlay, here we go. So your underlay, if we just delete this part here, there we go, all done. So there, now you've got a perfectly Z-depthable arm, and it works. So there you have it. Now, because you are using clones, as we said, kind of mentioned before, what you want to do, and the reason why we use clones, if anybody doesn't know this, this is a really fun trick that I like to use for productions, but if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to like pose out this character and like, let's have him, you know, do a little animation where he says, hello. Like so, what you can do is you can grab the top peg on the inside of this groove. Now, I'm wondering now if it will work with this, but if I'm going to copy, we can go to this arm over here and find that and paste it. Now, right now, it's not going to paste because it's not the same network. I have made some changes in here. So if I want to keep that same, if I want to keep the same structure in both arms, what I can do is very quickly, I can actually just take this group right here, and I'm just going to reclone. And I'm just going to say clone selected nodes, drawings only. So it's going to give me a brand new group. I'm going to pop out the other one. I'm going to replace it. This is one of my favorite time-saving, if I just do the wrong one. Oh, this is going to be a fun fix. All right, so I've just built myself into a little corner here, but not a problem. Because I made the changes to the arm that was in the static transformer, it might not work exactly the way we want it to, but it's still going to work. So let me grab, we've made the clone. I'll just reclone. Do I want to reclone? No, just pop this in. All right, so here's my new arm. I went backwards. I should have done this. I should have fixed this arm and then stuck that into the static transformation. But it's all good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and grab the same peg here, because now our networks match. Oh, our networks do not match. Hang on here. Clone. Let me reclone this one. All right, so now when we pop in here, now our networks match. There we go. So now I can go in and I can actually apply that same keyframe information here. Let me reset all this stuff and it'll actually work. This one. Okay, copy. There we go. Paste. So now you can actually do any animation that you do in one arm. You'll be able to pop it into the other. This works with limbs, all limbs. This works with legs as well. And I really love this trick. I find it to be a very huge time-saving element, and definitely worth your time if you've never tried it before. All right, so this is a really quick fix. This is something that it's not even really a fix, actually. It's just something that I like to do. So when I think about walking and my character's in front view, let me reset that. When I bend the leg, because I know that he's going to be walking. So let's see, let me just give him like a little walking pose real quick. All right, so see how his lower leg is in front of his upper leg? What I actually like to do in these cases is I like to try to stack my composites in a way that makes sense to like the natural body. So in this case, the foot I like to keep in front. The lower leg I actually will just place behind, and it just gives a character a little bit more of a natural pose. Let's say, I mean, his foot's a little, let's give him a little. There we go. So there, all of a sudden, it looks like his leg is in a natural pose, and you don't have to go through that extra Z-depthing step, which is really nice. So let me reset all of these. All right. So excellent job, Ray. This is a great rig. I think you're going to have a lot of fun in there. I noticed that the legs, you can add the same fix. You've got the layer selector for the foot. So you can do the same exact thing that you had for the arm. You can put that in your leg if you'd like. Let's see. All right, something else that I like to take note of when I'm looking at rigs is I like to look for pegs that have a lot of streams. So this is one that I would consider to have a lot of streams. When in doubt, I like to just add a couple more main and master pegs. So in this case, this is kind of the body and the arms peg. Let's go check on the naming. Shirt and collar dash PP. All right, so let's see what we got in here. We have a shirt collar. We have our logo, our design, our shirt, the body. Oh, that must be under the shirt. Then we've got, what does this say? Pants, crotch. All right, so the shirt is long, the shirt back. Let's see. All right. Excellent. All right, so what I would probably do in this case, if I'm trying to animate that shirt swaying, I would probably want to add another peg, because this works, but what we can also do is add a little detail. So I want to see if I can find a peg. Yeah, this one right here. So see this pivot placement also? It's at the center of his gravity. It's at his belly button. So if you actually think about a shirt, you're probably wearing one right now, although maybe not. You actually want to think about how it's falling. So because this is actually like an A-frame shirt, you want to think the weight is coming from the shoulders. So what I would like to do is I'm actually going to move this pivot point up to the top of his neck. I'm going to put it at the top of its neck. I also, when I'm setting my pivot points, I really like to use the rotate tool because then I can actually, am I happy with this? That's pretty good. So I can actually do that really quickly, and I can just jump back to my transform tool. Now I'm going to create a shirt main peg. So there's two ways that I can do this. I can copy and paste special. I love to use this window. I like to make sure that I am creating duplicates and not clones. So I always use this shortcut, and I always double check to make sure that create new columns is turned on. So I'm just going to do that. I can do this. I would go in and rename it. So shirt master or shirt main, something like that. Another way that I could do that, and I'll unplug that for now, is I'll create a new peg and hit Command P. All right, so shirt, same thing. I'll put this one as a main peg so I don't get the names confused. And then to have the same pivot point, what I'll do is I'll just copy and paste this pivot point location from one to the other. So now they both share the same pivot point. That is something that I am very cautious about. I try to avoid this. I'll leave one. What I try to avoid is I don't want hand-picked pivot points. And the reason why I don't want that is because when I'm selecting the shirt master, which will be the peg that grabs the details and the collar and everything that has to attach to, including the backside of that shirt, what I'll do is when I select this and I select this and I go back and forth, you can actually see the pivot point is jumping around. So I try to avoid that at all costs. It's really a great idea to make sure that any pivot point that shares a specific pivot point location is coming from the exact same spot. Mathematically, if you think about it, when all those numbers match up, it really, really helps. So I'm just going to, I'm going to delete this one now, and we'll stick to our shirt main peg. And I'm going to attach, let's see, we've got this here. All right, we've got the body. I will add that in there as well. And the reason why, I'll show you why, so that when we move the shirt, the body won't be sitting there underneath. So I'll attach that back on there. And now let's see what else is there. We've got pants. We've got the other parts of the pants. The shirt back, we also want to get that one. We want to make sure that's attached. So something like this. Actually, something like this, what I also will sometimes do is this is a little cheat, I will actually daisy chain the back of the shirt directly to here, so then that way it's always moving with that character. But either way it works. It'll move with it, and let's make sure everything is intact. There we go. You can adjust the collar if you want. You can include that. Let's see how that goes. So there you go. So that, now when I zoom out, I have this peg here, which now controls the arms. This one is part of the pants. So here, I might actually include the pants and the crotch. Instead of attaching them to the body, I might attach these ones over here, all the way over here. And right now you have a peg for the leg group, but you can also add another peg and attach that to here and here. And now all of a sudden you've got a lower body peg. So just like we have upper bodies, we have lower bodies. I usually give those two sets of a peg, and then there you go. Well, we just have to, put that in the right spot. So I can grab this one. This one isn't set either. this one, and then we've got our legs. We'll use this peg here to be our guide. So you can see that all of those layer properties for the pegs opened up right on top of each other. I like to the one that's going to lead the pivot point locations, so the legs, I like to open that one last so it's on top. So just like that, and then I can spread these windows, and then I can copy and paste the information really easily. Before, when I used to rig on a daily basis, I actually used to play a game with myself, and I really enjoyed this part of the process because I'm a nerd. And I used to play a game, how many pivot points could I set and how many little windows could I set at the same time. And I always found it very fun if I could do like 6 pivot points at a time. So I challenge you and your rigs to try that technique and see how many pivot points you can set at once and kind of go through that, that phase. So yeah, so other than that, I think I'd like to move on to the next rig. But Ray, this looks really great. You should be super proud of yourself. I don't know how long you've been rigging. We obviously have never met. But this is a great rig. I had a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun looking at it. It seems to be working pretty well. And I don't think that there's, oh, yep, there is a, now I know that when I created the clone group, this peg right here, this is the one that you're using for your Z depthing within your character. But what I would actually recommend is trying to leave that one as it is. So I'm actually just going to reset it. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to copy and paste, whoops, copy and paste special. I'm going to take this peg. I actually like to make sure that when I use clones, those groups they have their own peg. So I'm going to go upper arm, and I'm going to say, I call this one the position peg. So this one is actually going to be position. So yeah, this peg here, I'm actually going to use to keep that arm in place instead of on the inside. And then that way you can transfer information from group to group, and you don't have to worry about resetting the position every single time that you go to do that. So nice job, and let's move forward. All right. So we have another question. For 360 rigs, are drawing subs for mouths worse than making a deformer mouth? You know, Wave FN, I don't have a preference there. It depends on who your audience is. So if you are a rigging artist for a studio, your animators, are they used to using deformer mouths? If the answer is no, it's probably easier to use drawing subs. If the answer is yes, then go ahead, use a deformer mouth. It's a little bit more intricate to put together, that's for sure. But you also get a lot of nice, really subtle, nuanced animation when you are obviously using the deformers. All right. Now, this one is brought to you by Isaac. Isaac, this is a super cute rig. I'm not going to lie, I have a little soft spot for UFOs, so I love this little logo here that you got. And let's take a look and see what is inside of this rig. You've got the line over top of the hair. That's really cute. That reminds me of some cartoons that I've seen. And let's see. All right. Ooh, all right. So here we go. This is a network. All right, so as I mentioned in the first one, I'm a big fan of clean network, and let me show you why. So let me jump back out of here. I'm going to go to this one real quick. It'll make a little bit more sense if you use Ray's rig to show you why. All right, so in the node view, I can't use a lasso. I am limited to rectangles and squares. So using those principles, the reason why I like to have vertical and horizontal networks in here is because if I want to go in and deactivate things really quickly, I can. So if I wanted to do something like that, obviously I know that there are backdrops. We can also do that as well. But typically what happens is I want to deactivate like one or two things, and they're usually next to each other. So that's kind of why I like to use the horizontal layout. Now, one of the other reasons why I actually like to stick to that kind of a format and that thinking, and this one is a little bit, I don't think people think about this one too much, but I guess I have. All right, so pegs like this. So I know it's really easy to grab a chunk of pegs kind of like this, but let's just see real quick. So this peg is located, let me turn off some of these deformers. All right, so at its feet, upper body, in the neck, in the head. Okay, so none of these are actually the same pivot point locations, but I remember, since I just created that one, I've got a lower body peg here, which I know is the same as the leg group pegs right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this peg and I'm going to place it on top of the other leg peg. And the reason why I do that, let's say, like I know this peg is already set, but let's say it's either a brand new peg or since they're in the same location, what I can actually do is I can use that technique. So again, I'm going to grab it vertically, and I can grab my rotate tool, and I can move both of these pegs. Now, when I deselect, and I select, and then I select the other one, you can see that they are actually, there's no popping between that peg and the pivot point. So that's a really good thing. I'm just going to undo that. There we go. I'm just going to undo that. And so that's kind of a trick that I also like to use. And earlier, if you remember, I was talking about how many windows I like to set up. I would do that because I didn't know about this trick. So this is actually a really cool trick if you want to, when you're done putting all the pegs in your network and you kind of do your hierarchy. You guys can't see my hands, but my fingers are crawling like a spider. When you do your hierarchy and you want to set up all of those pegs, a lot of the pegs have the same pivot point location, and so that's actually the fastest way to do it. And so I would highly recommend the reason why we stick to vertical and horizontal networks is so that we can kind of jump into the network and we can kind of move around just like that. Now, this is actually pretty organized for being so spaced out. I can still very clearly see exactly what is going on. Now, it's going to take me a moment. Let's see, so we've got the hair swirl. That is the bang, so I'll keep that out front. I'm going to grab the face group. I'm going to deactivate that and see exactly what's in there. Perfect. Now I've got blush, and I've got the head. Deactivate. All right, so I'll take these two and put them right over here. Don't want to forget the blush. All right, so then I've got the back of the hair and the head, so I'll put that right there. I've got a composite down here, which is the head comp. I'll leave it. Maybe I'll move it a little bit more center. And I'll start moving these a little bit further. I'm going to bring this one down. All right, so what am I missing? All right, so we're going to go from the top of the head on the left side, which is, so we've got the bangs, the face, the head, the hair, and then we're going to go, we've got the upper body here, we've got something, what is this one? This is the neck shadow. Let me get back to my transform tool. All right, so neck shadow, yep. All right, so it's attached to the head peg. We'll just bring that down. We'll put that right there for now. And then we've got the upper body and the shirt. So inside here, okay, and the shirt. Oh, the logo. Okay, so let's go like this. Bring this down. Bring the logo as well. I'm gonna put that there for now. And a shell. Oh, she got a backpack? Is she a snail? Oh, I love snails. All right. Excellent. Bonus. All right, then we've got some fishnets, lower body. All right. And we got legs comp. There we go. All right. So front arm, here we go. So let's put that there. Where is the back arm? Back arm, there it is. All right. All right, almost vertical. All right. So I'll leave the legs over there for now. I'm not sure exactly yet what the fishnets do, but let's hang on and let's take a look. So just like the last one, I'm going to be looking for the same things. So I start this process pretty much the same every time. So again, I'll just grab basically the piece of the body that's the furthest from the limb. So since it's usually the hand, I start there and just jump up. Okay, so she's got shoulders. That's cool. There we go. And I'll just keep going back down. Let's see. Her arm comes across her body. Let's push that back in Z depth. All right, so here we've got a peg that if I try to push behind, I'm just trying to push her lower arm back, and it looks like it brings her entire body. So that's something that I'm going to take a look at. And let's try that with the hand. Check the hand. All right, so when her hand comes forward, we have a line there as well. So let's see, where is that arm? That would be this one here. Let's see what we can do. All right, so when I zoom in here, I've got my arm comp, which is here. You can see that I've got your upper arm. You've got your shoulder cutter, which is a patch. All right, so we got a patch, and we got our lower arm and our hand. All right, so I'm going to bring the hand over. I've got the lower arm here. Now, what's connected to the lower arm is we've got an overlay, we've got a line art, and we've got an auto patch. So never be afraid to stretch out your networks, really. And the other thing that I really like to do, I'm all about organization in the node view. So I'm going to push these in an order, and I'll keep the things attached. But never be afraid to keep space in your network. It's not going to make it any more difficult. In fact, I always find that it helps people start to navigate these node views a little bit faster, because what it does is it kind of creates a repetition. So you're looking at the same thing all the time. And so your eyes start to read it a little bit faster, and you're going to get more, what do I want to call it? Pattern recognition. So I actually use that to my benefit when I'm checking rigs. I used to have to check like 10 to 15 a day, so I'd have to do this very quickly. So all right, so I've got a composite coming up here. I'm going to pull this down. And I've got the shirt, and I've got a front arm. This is the upper arm, and that is going to this composite here. All right, so we've got the composite there. All right, so let's see what we can do in the time that we have. But we've got our upper arm peg here, we got a lower arm peg here, and a hand peg here. Now, this is what I call daisy chaining. So I'm going to show you what I like to do with networks. So it's this is a very fast way to animate. So if I grab this upper arm and I just kind of swing it, I can grab this lower arm and I can swing it, and I can grab this hand and I can also swing it. So it looks really good, but I'm going to try one thing. So if I go to the lower arm and I want to maybe just kind of skew it a little bit, notice how it skews the hand. So that might actually be something that you want to avoid. It depends. Depends who you're animating for and what your approach is. But typically what we want to see is everything gets its own peg. So if I'm trying to move the upper arm just a smidgen like that, like so, it affects everything. So a lot of the times you just want to make a little quick adjustment to that upper arm, but you can't. It's really locking in. The whole arm. So I'm going to reset all of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick little network here for you. And I'm just going to create some main pegs. All right, so now I've got my upper arm, which I'm going to call this one the arm master. So now your upper arm is going to stick to this one. I'm going to create, you're going to go from your arm master to the lower arm, and I'm going to pop that in there. So now I'm going to also take the lower arm and I'm going to attach it to the hand. So now I've got, this is what we call a hierarchy. Lower arm, main. And the reason why we do this is to basically avoid the daisy chaining. So the daisy chaining is when the pieces are connected to other pieces, so that when you move the top piece, everything's kind of going to be affected. So now what this is going to allow, and all the pivot points should be the same, yeah. So now I can actually go in and I can affect the lower arm just a little bit, and it won't affect the hand, and it won't affect the upper arm. Something like a shoulder cutter, and it looks like there is a sleeve here. Let's see. Which one is this one going to? All right, so we got this here. There we go. So I would actually keep this one with, the arm, and I'll keep it with the cutter. All right, so now we have our sleeve and we have a shoulder cutter. So I'm going to pop these a little bit. Now, these daisy chains here, these are still daisy chains. You can leave it like this. This is actually something that I would allow as an exception, depending on the show that I'm on, because this is just a line, essentially. So I would allow that. And kind of same with this one. Since it's a patch and you want that to be floating within your character, I would allow that kind of a daisy chain because you want that to be attached to the upper arm. Now, for this one here, you might want to extend. This drawing because if you notice, it's not totally covering. Your upper arm, and there's no deformer here to really help you out. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn this eyeball on. You can see that it's a perfect copy. I'm going to switch over to my contour editor, and I'm just going to pull that a little bit lower. And now when her upper arm swings, that is sticking with it. You don't have to worry about the black showing through at the bottom. So that should help you out. All right, so let's see. There was also this little guy. All right, so your Z depth. All right, so what is happening here? Because you're actually using bitmap composites, I believe what's happening is the peg that is driving the Z depth is actually driving the Z depth for the entire piece that is connected here. So that includes the shirt. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm actually going to change it to pass-through. And I'm also going to change this one to pass-through. And now you can see that the Z depth is working. So the pass-through composites are very helpful if you're going to be working in 3D space with your 2D characters. You kind of want to keep that momentum rolling. And that'll happen a lot in animation. A lot of times I would get that comment. It's like, I'm trying to put something behind something else, but it's actually moving this huge chunk of my character and my rig. And that's the first thing that I would ask. Does your rig have any bitmap composites? Just take a look. If they do, and just make a little swap. So since I can see a couple bitmap composites here, that problem might be persistent within the rig. Feel free to go in and make that change. It does make the rig a little bit heavier, but I find that it is worth it. So I tend to let that one go. All right, so let's see. Oops. We also had some Z-depthing in the hand. So here, it's another example of the specificities of the layer filters. So you guys have the overlay and line art and auto patches here. but not in the hand. So your hand is actually running with all of its layers, all 4 of them, just into the arm composite. And so if you go in and let's just double check to see what layers everything is on. So we've got the line art and your color art. So I can go copy, view, and I just need a color art, copy, view. Let's go that one. And just make sure that that's plugged in here. So now we can actually cut the line art for the hand, and we can cut that by, I will cut it by the color art for now. Oh, not the upper arm, whoops. Oh, no, we have another patch here. Perfect. I was going to grab one, but we've got one available. So we can cut that by the auto patch, and now your hand can move behind the character and in front of the character if you wish. Since you have these little spots on the arms, these little, let's call them freckles, you might want to put those on their own peg as well and connect that to the lower arm mane. It would move, they would move with that, or you can even daisy chain them to the lower arm. That would be okay as well. The reason why I say you might want to do that is because if you have your hand and you do want to, like if you want her to say stop, you can Z-dep the hand forward, but then you can also Z-dep those little freckles in front of it too, so that the hand isn't blocking the freckles. So you might want to do that as well. Depends on her acting capabilities. All right, so let's see. We got a little bit of time left here. Let's see if we can tackle something. Let's see. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at these legs. All right, so we've got the 2 networks here. All right, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so that we can kind of space these out. I think it's also nice to see somebody who's a professional space out networks, because I think it looks the same for all of us. It's a slow spaghetti separation process, and just want you guys to know we're all in it together. All right, so, all right, 1 leg, 2 legs. Now we've got, here we go, we've got some fishnets here. Oh, cute. All right. Let's keep those on. And let's go to our overlay. We've got the upper leg. You've got 2 overlays here. It's really, really easy. What you can do actually is just replace one overlay for the other. So in this case, what I'm actually going to do is take this one, and I'm just going to pop it here. I'm going to unplug this one. I did that because when I grabbed these, I could see where they were. And now I'm going to remove the one overlay. And we're going to see here, what else? We've got a shoe. We've got a little shoe tip. I'll put that over here. Totally acceptable to daisy chain that. I would also daisy chain that one. All right, so we got our line art, we got our color art, we got our overlay, we've got our underlay, and our composites. All right, so we've got a composite there and a composite there. We've got this one, and we've got this one, and these are going into cutters. All right, so I will pull them over here so that I know what they are cutting. All right, so let's straighten out this line. All right, so we've got the fishnets. All right, so we've got the daisy chaining. You've heard me talk about that a little bit today, so I'm not going to fix it in this rig. I'm going to leave it, and for the leg, and then I'm just going to see how this works. So I'm going to do a little high kick here. Oh my gosh, shoot, I love this tail. This is so funny. All right, so then I'm going to jump up this network. I'm going to go like this. Oh, excellent. You've got your texture running through everything. There's no deformers here. If you have Harmony 20 and you wanted to put a deformer on these legs or in the fishnets, don't forget we have our weighted deformer, which is a new feature, and that would be a lot of fun with fishnets. So you can actually use deformers with your fishnets now and kind of bake those right into the drawings if you wanted to, or have them on a separate layer. So, all right, so let's see, let's bring the leg forward. All right, so we're gonna have a Z-dipping issue here as well. And so That's a similar problem here. You want to change all of these composites to be pass through. Let's see what I want to do. I want to see what all these composites are here for. So I'm going to deactivate. Okay, so that's the back of the foot. This is the front of the foot. And then this one is the leg, probably. Yep, underlay. Looks like there's something else going on there. So when I deactivate this right here, it's the lower leg. So then which one is this one? So this is something else. All right, so let's activate this again. Let's chase this line. We've got the fishnets, and it's diving into here. It's going into this cutter with a color selector into the lower body comp. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's simplify this network a little bit, because you can see how I'm like chasing pieces around. So let's actually just bring these fishnets and let's put them directly in. Let's put them in with this leg here, and let's do a composite for the entire front leg. I think that could be useful here. So let's copy and paste, and we're going to plug that in. Let's plug that into. Let's follow that connection. I think that will be about here, and then we're going to put everything else into this. So I'm going to go to here. All right, I'm going to go from here. I'm just going to plug this in. I'm not going to worry that it's disappearing yet. Let's see if I change the position. All right, we're still missing one, but we'll fix that after the fact. And where is the shorts? All right, so here's the back leg. Where are the shorts? Here we go. All right, so these shorts are being chased all the way down here. And what is this node? We've got an auto patch. All right, so I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to pop them over here. And now we're going to go to our upper leg. We've got our overlay. All right, so since we're getting specific, we're going to stick with getting specific. So I'm going to use the line art, color art. So I need to have, I'll just grab all four of these in case I need them. So I'll copy. I've got an auto patch here. I know I definitely am going to need a couple other layers. So let's check the upper leg. All right, the upper leg has the shorts directly in them, which is awesome. Our overlay has the little frill lines. All right, so the overlay here is being used a little bit differently than what we saw in the past. So let me see if the underlay is being used. It is not. All right. So let's do a quick, I'm going to do a quick swap. So I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to put these in the underlay, actually. I'm going to use the underlay for that layer. And since I just moved that artwork, I'm going to swap this out so that it doesn't actually affect where it goes in the bottom half of the network. When you are networking as well, it's a really, really, really good idea so that you are actually, you want to be looking at your screen the way that the camera would be looking at your screen. So you don't want to be in a drawing tool while you're networking, which is what I was just doing, which is why I'm kind of saying it out loud for you. So I'm just going to pop this forward and put that forward as well. We'll find out why that is not showing. All right, so we've got a composite here. We've got the shoe. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. And the underlay is being cut. I'm actually going to release that underlay from the cutter. And we've got our auto patch. We've got our overlay. We've got our line art. And we got our color art. All right, so I'm going to pop in the line art. The line art is going to show up. There it is. The color art needs to go in next. And I'm going to put that right behind it. There we go. So we've got our auto patch available. Now the underlay, I'm actually going to put that right on top because that is where that artwork showed up. I'm actually going to remove these fishnets actually I won't remove them. I will just deactivate them real quick. And I'm going to do the same thing for the lower leg. So let's just double check to see where all that artwork is. So overlay and underlays are blank. Line art and color art are being used. All right, so I'm actually I'm going to leave the overlays out because we're kind of running out of time here. So let me see. I've got my line art and my color art. And I'll pop those in right behind each other. Looks like that is swapped. Something you always want to keep an eye out for. All right, and so I'm going to use, since I'm not using this cutter, I'm going to steal it. I'm going to cut this line art by the auto patch of the upper leg, which is going to help me with some Z depthing here. I also want to cut the line art of this piece here by the auto patch of the leg. So this piece right here, again, so the hips. All right. So I can actually cut this, or I can do one other thing. Looks like I've got, this is my lower body peg. I can also pop this master composite for the leg in front of the hips, and that should probably help. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right, so now we've got our character's leg working like that. Now, if I bring back these fishnets, let's see. Looks like they're working. It looks like the only thing is that we've got a layering problem right here. So I'm going to say, let's pop this in front. But since this is going here, let's actually bring it all the way to the bottom. Let's put that right in front of the entire leg. So there you have it. We have our working leg. It should be Z-depthable. Looks like there's a little Z-depth thing happening with the whole leg, but again, that's just probably our composite. And the other thing, if we want to cut the line art for our upper leg, we can. We can just grab a cutter, and we've got our upper leg. We're going to cut the line art, and we need auto patch. So copy, paste. And there you go. So now you've got, again, some Z-depthing, which will be a lot of fun for you to animate. We'll swap these to pass through real quick. Whoops. The nice thing about those composites is you can see it right away by the shape. So you know exactly if it is a bitmap or a pass-through. It looks like we'd have to go in and make a little more adjustments and change some of the other composites, but there you go. When you have free-floating composites like this as well, especially when you're kind of going in and changing things, feel free to delete them. You don't need them. Same with these. They just add clutter to your network, which you kind of want to avoid when you're rigging because it makes it a little bit easier. Again, repetition is really key. I'm going to reset that leg. And it looks like we have one more question before we wrap up. When I look at my rigs, Labello13 says, when I look at my rigs, after a week or so, I have difficulties to immediately understand what's going on, especially when I have a lot of cutters in it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I looked at these rigs for 30 seconds before I jumped onto this live call. So, you know, I've never met any of you guys. I can see all of your work. I find that when you're learning, what happens is the number one thing is people want to see as much as they can in their node view. So if I zoom over here for a little bit, really quickly, that means that you get really tight networks. Like you want to see as much as you can, and so you move things over. And it's real. I mean, it's really easy to get into a state where you're just like, oh, I need to see. I'm going to zoom out, but I still want to see everything. So I'm going to grab all this and I'm going to pull it over, and like I'm actually going to make that really close. And so it's really easy to kind of turn a network into a spaghetti real fast. But in all honesty, the key is to kind of get used to having all that space within your network so that you can start seeing the repetition and the pattern. Like I said, I always keep my networks exactly like this. And I even go in and I rename them. So instead of overlay, I will just put OL. And I mean, like you can see the difference almost immediately. It lets me take all these nodes and it lets me kind of cram them in there. But I don't actually have to be so zoomed in, and then I can space them out a little bit. Straight lines really, really helps. The more you practice, I don't want to call it control, but as long as it's just so easier to look at the rig, and if you've got that repetition, going back to the following week or the next week, you're really going to see the same things in your network. So I would say just practice that and making sure you've got straight lines, so your cutters all aligned with the object that they're cutting. You bring in your composites. I try not to have too many crisscross lines like this. I use composites to simplify my networking, exactly what's going on here. But yeah, thanks guys, that was a great question. Are there any other last minute questions before we sign off? All right, excellent. Well, then I'm going to sign off with this last little minute rig here. It was actually given to us. But it's an animation. So I'm not going to go too far into it, but I think that it's definitely worth taking a look at the simplicity of what's going on here. It's basically a deformer in the body, which is a lot of fun. And the only thing that I might change here is I'm a bit of a stickler. I like to have my deformers directly on top of the actual drawing that they are attached to. So something like that. But if I play, let me bring this up. So I hope that you can see this. It's a Thursday for me, and most likely probably a Thursday for most people, but maybe it's Friday already. So I hope that you guys just kind of bounce into your weekend like this little guy. When I opened this scene, I definitely had a really good laugh. So please enjoy and take care, guys.